Hi there, this is Alvin from Dr. Wealth. Google just announced that they will be shutting down its cloud gaming unit Stadia in January 2023. This is considered early because they were just 2 years into the game, trying to fight off the gaming giants like Microsoft as well as Sony, because this cloud gaming enables the computing power of games to be shifted from the consoles to the servers. So Google thought that this might be an opportunity for them to compete, since consoles may be less dependent in the future. But somehow, just early in this race, they decided to throw in the towel. So this Stadia will join a long list of Google's failure, and let's look at some of these more high-profile Google failures in the past. The very first one that I want to talk about is this Google Answers. It was launched in 2002, and it was meant to for people to use this service to get answers from experts in specific fields or industry. And it is not free, you have to actually pay a fee for it. It apparently wasn't very popular, so it shut off. And now today, we have a more successful or sustainable model, such as Quora or even Reddit forum. Of course, they are not paid. But maybe that was not the only reason why these Google Answers failed. And we also have the Google Video, if you remember, before the days of YouTube. So it didn't take off as well, right? Ended up with Google buying over YouTube, and YouTube, it is a success today. So the idea was actually good, right? But somehow it didn't get attraction, and luckily Google bought YouTube. Otherwise, they would be very behind in these video streaming services. Okay, so then we also have this is my personal favorite. I didn't even know this, that Google actually have a Uber-like service as early as 2007. And this is called a Google Ride Finder. You can actually find and book your transport using Google Ride Finder. It is exactly like what we have experienced with Uber, Grab, this kind of ride-hailing services. But it has been around since 10 over years ago, right? So Google was actually quite far-sighted in this kind of innovation, but somehow probably they were too early. Smartphone wasn't that common yet, and that's why maybe without that user interface, if you always have to use a browser with internet access, that really limits the mobility, right? So they were too early on this one. Next one is this Google Lively, right? And now we have metaverse, this term throwing around, talking about virtual worlds. And again, Google was very early in 2008. And surprisingly, it was just about 6 months old, and the whole project was canned off, right? And it was probably competing with another virtual world, Second Life, which proved to be quite popular in those days. Okay, but now we have seen more metaverses coming out, and we don't know whether the world is ready for them this time round. We still waits to be seen. And there's also this Google Wave that started in 2009, and it lasted about 3 years before they called the project to an end. And what this Google Waves is like, they were trying to reinvent what email should be, and they were trying to play around with merging email and instant messaging together, and together with some of the other apps, to make it more useful for users. It sounds like today's Slack. Okay, again, maybe Google was too early, right? And Slack proves that it is a useful function, is a useful platform, and they were adoption. And Google were just probably 10 years earlier in this case. And you probably heard about this Google Loon, where they were trying to provide internet access to places where they really find it hard to either lay the underground cables or to have those kind of internet receivers, routers set up, base stations. So they wanted to use this to go to those poorer areas and provide internet access. But then this Loon eventually was also caught off in Jan 2021, and the assets were handed over to SoftBank. Okay, so this is something that I think it was quite pitiful, right? Otherwise, this might really help some of the more impoverished places to get internet access. Maybe Starlink can solve this problem using the satellite internet services. And not forgetting Google Plus, which was trying to rival Facebook, and even the interface was pretty much the same. And despite Google having a very big user base, they could not get people to use the platform, and Facebook remained to be the dominant social media since then. Right, so it started in 2011 and it ended in around 2019. So 8 years was quite a long time. And there's also this VR set called the Google Daydream. There was, I think this is the second series. It started in 2016 and ended in 2019. Again, now we talk about metaverses, we talk about VR, AR, and Meta bought Oculus and try to go into this space. Okay, so again, it remains to be seen whether the users are ready to use VR to enter virtual worlds. Okay, so I don't see my friends doing it. I'm not doing it at this point in time. All right, maybe I'll change my mind next year or so. We'll see how the development goes. So if you are thinking that I'm here bashing and laughing about Google's failure, please do not take that as the truth. Okay, I'm not here to bash them. I'm here to in fact encourage and say that these failures are necessary for innovations to go on, and for them to push and find new products and services. Okay, and this must carry on. Okay, because without which innovation will never happen. So failures are necessary, and it should be celebrated in a sense that in the spirit of finding the next big thing that can propel Google forward. So if there isn't any innovation, we would not see any other products or services that Google offer after the search engine, right? So we know that search engine, even till today, is the most powerful revenue driver for Google, right? But they didn't rest on their laurels, right? They continue to innovate despite all the failures that we have listed so far. Okay, so we can talk about they came out with Gmail, right? Email services. I still remember during those days they were the most generous. They gave the most amount of free space for users, and that was a very big draw, because in those days the disk space that's given to you email users are very small, that it's very easy to fill up your inbox, and then you cannot receive mails anymore. So it was quite successful in terms of that offering. And even Gmail now is one of the most popular email providers in the world. Okay, it is debatable. Some say it's Apple Mail, right? But depends on how you count the user, whether is it using a service to access Gmail and other providers, or actual email providers services that's given to the users. So the technicalities may differ, right? But definitely Gmail is one of the most popular email providers today. And Google Maps, I use it extensively. I can't imagine going back to the days without Google Maps, where we had to flip the street directory book and try to memorize the whole route before we go from our location to the destination. Right, so this Google Maps have been a godsend, and it's free, right, for users to use, and I find it personally really very useful. And there were a lot more things, features that's built on it. I even see reviews. I even see that I can contact the restaurant to make a booking or to inquire certain things, right? So even the app itself is evolving and becoming more and more useful and integrated in our daily lifestyle. Okay, so today is used by more than 1 billion people, right, actively every month. So it is quite phenomenal in that sense. And there's also Google Cloud, which started in 2008, and today is the third largest cloud provider, right, just after Amazon as well as Microsoft. Yes, they are not number one. Yes, they were not the earliest mover to offer these services to the others, right? AWS or Amazon Web Services was the first one, but they did catch up, and now they're number 3, right? So it's still considered one of the major players in the cloud services space. And we also have Chrome, the browser. Okay, I don't know about you, but I'll be using Chrome as my default browser, and I also use Google Search, of course, to find my find my stuff, right? And it started in 2008, and soon it became the world's largest browser market share. Okay, it beat the other competitors like Safari, Firefox, if you remember, Internet Explorer. So they did overcome many competitors over the years, and they are still number 1 today. And also not forgetting Android, right, that powers majority of the mobile phones in the world. Okay, and of course the chief competitor will be iOS in terms of the mobile OS, but even in terms of considering Windows as a desktop OS, Android in totality beats Windows OS as well. Okay, that shows you how influential Android has become, and that's also part of the project that Google was working on. Okay, so you can see that this innovation did bring about market dominating kind of products and services that Google today have them. So it is something that I think innovation must go on in order for Google to stay ahead. Otherwise, if they stop spending the money because they are afraid of failures, that's where the innovation die off. Okay, so in summary, I think failures are part and parcel of innovation, and you can have many failed products and services, okay, but you just need one and it can cover a lot of all these losses that have been made and then more, right? That makes it worthwhile to have failures, right? And will Google continue to fail? Definitely, I would think so, right? As long as they continue to innovate. I'll be fearful if Google say that, okay, I think since our innovations will fail, let's take the safe route and not innovate at all. That is where I think the Google innovation spirit has died. Okay, so don't fail to innovate, basically. Right, so I hope you like the video, and please remember to give me a thumbs up as well as subscribe to this channel for more analysis and for more stock discussion. I hope to see you around. This is Alvin. Goodbye.